Somebody made it. Today's 61. Hey! Yay! I'm so excited. Day 61, right? This means you're over two-thirds the way through this journey. Let that sink in. Remember back on day one when we started out with your initial goal? Maybe it felt huge. Maybe even a little intimidating. But you've gotten to all these checkpoints and you have accomplished some of your mini goals and they're all adding up and we can almost smell the end goal. We are so close. You've stayed committed, you've kept going, and now you're entering the home stretch. This is the final third of the journey, and we're getting excited because we're starting to see some signs that are actually pointing to our destination as we drive along this highway. The finish line is coming up, and this is just really, really exciting. The home stretch, however, requires some extra focus. Think of a marathon runner, right? At the beginning of the race, there's excitement, the energy is high, adrenaline kicks in. In the middle, it's all about endurance. They have to pace themselves. If they go too hard in the middle, that's kind of why we slow down a little bit to refuel in the middle. Because if they go too hard in the middle, they won't end. They won't be able to finish the race. They'll just burn out at the end. And the final stretch, this is where they give their final kick and they ramp it up. So we're getting to the final stretch, and this is where we have to be careful. At this point, you're like, I've done this for 2 months, 60 days. I've done enough. I could slow down. I could cruise, but that would be a mistake. This is really where you start kicking it up a notch because the end is in sight. You've done this for 60 days, which means you could do this for 30 days. This is where you have to take the wheel and decide, am I going to just coast or am I going to finish strong? When I tell you about that 5K, and I only did it one time. No, actually I did it twice. But the second time was definitely a mistake. I'm not even going to tell you what happened the second time. But that first time I will not forget. I was past the middle, past the halfway point, and there were people on the sidelines, and somebody handed me a bottle of water, and I really thought it was an angel because I was doing this race in the middle of July. It was like hot summer, right? So I was thirsty, it was hot, it was humid, and a bottle of water at that time was so refreshing, and it just gave me what I needed to make it that final stretch. And that final stretch is where you're really going to give it your all. You're really going to tighten up. You're really going to, double down on those habits that you've been building. Really recommit to finishing this journey, right? So the home stretch is about momentum. You know how to build momentum because you've done it. You know how to maintain momentum because you've done it. It's all about dialing in your focus. It's about not letting distractions take you off course, aka life. And it's about remembering why you started. As usual, we always have to keep focused on why. We started because we're heading to California and we're not going to stop until we get there. Why? Because we want to go to the beach, want to stick our toes in the ocean and wiggle them around and just feel the sun on our faces. This is why we started the journey, and we're not stopping until we get to that ocean. And so we're just going to keep going. Now, you have to make sure that you're focused on the things that make the biggest impact on your wellness. And that's your foundation, right? Maybe it's drinking enough water. You struggle with that. So maybe you double down and you focus on that. Maybe it's moving your body. You're not, you're not as active, or you weren't as active as you needed to be, and you've been trying to be more active during this journey. Or maybe it's you don't get enough sleep. You stay up too late. You Netflix, you scroll on social media when you should be sleeping, and you've really been trying to manage your screen time, but you really need to double down and focus. And that is what this home stretch is about. You need to avoid the pit stops of procrastination. procrastination and excuses and losing focus. Focus is such a big deal nowadays. Like, you really have to, because there's so much distraction in our world. It's like built-in distraction everywhere you turn. You really have to focus on what it is that you need to be doing at any point in time, because there are 20 other things that are trying to get your attention. Now, you can pull over for a quick break, but sometimes that break can turn into hours and you lose momentum. You can stop for gas, but somehow you get distracted by, looking around the gas station and all the stuff they have for sale in there. You can say, I'm just going to check my phone, and suddenly you're not driving at all. You're just pulled over checking your phone. So you really need to make sure that you're getting rid of those little pit stops, those little distractions that can get you, off focus. So for the next 10 days, you need a plan to stay focused, especially when you feel yourself getting distracted or, just slowing down for no reason. You can ask yourself, is this a necessary break? Do I really need to do this right now? And then what's really important is that you start visualizing the finish line every day, because we're getting closer and closer for it to it. So every morning for the next 10 days, just take a minute to close your eyes, especially when you do your reflection for the day. You want to make sure that you're visualizing the finish line. What will it look like when you actually get to that 90-day goal? What will it feel like when you get to California and you're sitting on the sand and the waves, the water is, coming up to your toes? Like, what will that feel like when you finally made it? Waking up on day 90, knowing you did it, feeling the pride, the energy, the success, looking in the mirror and seeing the person who actually followed through. Your brain is wired to follow what you focus on. So I need you to focus on finishing this journey over the next 10 days. You're in the final stretch. You've got your non negotiables locked in. We're keeping our foundational health in sight. We're sleeping, we're drinking water, we're pooping, we're eating right. We are doing all the things, and we really need to keep doubling down on them over the next 10 days. This will make you unstoppable. So, as we approach the finish line, I will see you at the next checkpoint.